Daughter of Senator John Thune is the voice you heard there, with the red, white, and blue flying proudly as well. And those flags are flying in a specific direction and in full regalia as the winds, as you mentioned, Tom, are going to play a factor here today. This course is compact, as we showed you on that course map, but that doesn't mean you're not going to face it in a couple of different directions.
Yeah, and there are a couple of vicissitudes on the course in the terms of the hills. They're not big hills, but when you take them for the last time, they can seem like Mount Everest, and the ability to go up and down. The interruption of tempo can be a part in the race where you can really get some separation. The individual race here, Paul, I think is very, very wide open, and the tactics are going to play a critical component because I don't know that I'd want to lead with the wind as strong as it is. The wind chill earlier today was 7 degrees. It's now improved to 13.
Well, let's get across the boxes here at the Heartland region as you pick out your favorites on this championship Sunday, the first of our regions on the road to Nike Cross Nationals. 2 teams will qualify automatically. Top 5 individuals, though if you're connected to one of those teams that makes it, then they will go down the list to take those 5 individuals to Portland as well. Everyone motivated, ready to run, and ready to race for a ticket to Nationals. Such great participation, too. The fields are just absolutely loaded, as was evidenced all morning long with the sub-races here. Many of these girls having experience and success in some of those earlier races over the years, that puts them now in a position to toe the line. This is such a different reality coming off their state titles. Many state champions are here. Now they're looking left and looking right and seeing other state champions here. The best teams in the region are here, all vying for a spot at Nike Cross Nationals. Final instructions out of the way, and we await the gun.
One of the things that'll be interesting to me, Paul, is the Harrisburg duo of Brianna Riley and Hannah Garrick. Riley is an 8th grader, and she was 6th here last year. Garrick is a 9th grader and was 7th here last year. They have a shot to make it as an at-large, potentially, if they can get their other 3 across.
On your mark.
The road to Nike Cross Nationals is underway. Our first championship final of 2025 comes your way from the Heartland as the girls will race over 5 kilometers, but they're going to reset that race here as they've actually called them back to the line. So I don't think something we've seen in recent memory.
I saw it actually earlier this year at the Arturo Barrios Invitational at Texas A&M University, where they had a false start. But, one of the things about a race restart like this, you have so much anticipation and energy as you're getting ready for the start, and then to have to go back and do it again, it can play with your mind a little bit. You got to get reorganized again. These young ladies were standing at that start line for quite some time for a relatively lengthy anthem and introduction process, and your muscles do get really, really tight in conditions like this, and mentally, any kind of deviation from the norm can always play in your mind, just like a false start in a sprint race. There's that kind of thing that goes on in your mind, and you cogitate a little bit more than if it would just the gun goes off and you're ready to rumble.
The girls getting some additional instructions here. You saw a good look at the flags coming right across this opening section of the race course from right to left.
I thought I saw pink smoke, which would be interesting because the Nike kind of colors scheme here is pink. And to do the pink smoke, that would be a little bit of an extra, bonus, I think. Vapor red, apparently. Well, they didn't have vapor red on that start gun, Paul.
The race to Nike Cross Nationals is underway, our very first regional championship of 2025 from the Heartland region as the girls race 5 kilometers. Left side of your screen, we'll work through the list of the individuals and the teams. There are some athletes here who are running without a team. They are tending to be at the end of that list, but many of them will factor into the conversation today. Someone like a Lauren McCullough out of Wisconsin, Kaylee Schultz out of Kansas, a couple of unattached athletes. But the racing is underway, and we're already getting an early surge at the front. In fact, McCullough, 56.78, is right there.
She's a senior from Menominee, Wisconsin. She has won 9 of her 10 races this season. Now, she was 4th at Greock to 3 that are in this race. Riley, Gullickson, and Genrick. She won the Wisconsin Division I Cross Country Championships this year. She was 6th in 2024. But what's interesting, Paul, is she was 122nd at NXR in 23. She was 89th in NXR in 24. And now she is leading the race. This is one very, very improved athlete, Lauren McCullough.
And a great shot from high above. As you see, she's got a couple of strides there as the shadows racing alongside these talented girls in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. In the group right behind her, it's led by Ellie Maddox, the senior from Sioux Falls. No stranger to this course and to this area. She won the 1A championship this year in South Dakota.
And Paul, Maddox was just behind McCullough at the Roy Greack cross-country meet back in September. Maddox won, you're going to love this, she was on the winning 4x4 in the South Dakota State Age Championship. So she won the 4x4, won the 1600, was second in the 800, and second in the 3200. Heck, Quentin Nauman didn't even run the 4x4 in the Iowa State Championships.
But we'll see him running later on today. He's part of that fabulous field in the boys' race that is to follow. So now a lead group of, it looks like, 7 girls there in front. Maddie Gullickson is now up and near the lead. In fact, she's right alongside those flags, trying to take the interior route, while McCullough is next to her. First time we see Wayzata figuring prominently in the early going, and we expect Gullickson to be their low stick.
Absolutely. And the fact, again, those big 5 seniors for Wayzata. Gullickson is one of those athletes that is super smart, super experienced. She was second in the Greock meet. She lost to Brianna Riley, that precocious 8th grader from Harrisburg, South Dakota. But Gullickson won the Minnesota 3A this year, was second last year, 9th at NXR, and actually ran 35th at NXN. Very experienced runner in the traditional purple and light blue kit of Wayzata.
Another athlete there in that front group, 39.68. That's Peyton Van Diest of Spartan Distance, the junior, tallest of the figures there. Now on the left-hand side of your screen, as this group has quickly dwindled, just 5 girls in front. We'll get our first split on this race course at 1 mile, but already seeing some separation near the top.
And the biggest surprise here is we're not seeing Riley and Genrick from Harrisburg. Not sure why they wouldn't be up in the lead pack, but we do know that Harrisburg has a shot at the team title, and maybe they're trying to bring along some of their teammates, although their teammates are pretty far behind those pair. That's a very experienced pair. Even though they're only 8th or 9th grade, they've run many, many big races over the last couple of years. And I'm surprised to see that they are not in that lead pack.
This little U-shape around the parking lot in the middle of this Yankton Trail youth sports facility, and you'll see them working now in that lower left hand of your screen on the athletic course tracker. Going to work their way to that 1 mile mark, and that'll be the first time we'll be able to both reset the leaders here in front, but as well that all-important race for the team title and second place, which will also get you an automatic invitation to Portland.
And where's Ruby Immels? The 3 young ladies from South Dakota, the home state, they're obviously not in that lead group. They're a little bit further back, presumably. But I'm very curious because I would have thought Ruby Immels would be right up there at the front. So the 3 from the native state of South Dakota here laying back. And you're right, Paul. It's going to be interesting to see what this first mile split is, because that might answer a lot of our questions. Maybe it's a little bit too sizzling of a pace here.
Well, Gullickson is the leader right now as we're waiting them to reach and pass that timing mat, and it's right there at the mile mark, and Gullickson is the leader, a respectable 5 minutes and 14 seconds over that first mile distance with Riley, McCullough, Maddox, and Van Diest, and then it's a 7-second delta back to the next group that includes Schultz, Jenrick, who we were waiting to see if there was a sign of her, and also Ruby Immels is back there in 9th position.
But Ruby Immels almost 10 seconds back. Now they are running a
that distance now that the lead group has on the rest of the field following that gator, working their way on this second stanza of the 3-act play here at 5,000 meters in Sioux Falls. On the team side, you see now those scores, which will obviously change dynamically as they'll take those unattached athletes out of the descending order list and then rescore everything. But Wayzata in the lead right now with 72 points. Chargers Running Club is in second.
And we had mentioned at the start, Paul, that the team's part of this equation was pretty straightforward. And it is. Those are the two favorites, and they have considerable margin over everybody else. We also said at the beginning of this race that the individual battle was going to be a little bit hairier in terms of being able to predict, and that is what's happening right now at the front as well. Gullickson really kind of putting it down up there at the front. She's the one that's really controlling the tempo here. And I would say the big surprise is Peyton Van Diest being up in this lead group. That was somebody that we didn't necessarily expect, although she's starting to fall back a bit. But Gullickson looks so smooth. Look at that. There is very little distress being shown by her whatsoever. I really like the way that she looks. She's definitely the most experienced runner in that group. Maddox also a senior, but Gullickson having far more championship-level races than Maddox has had.
Peyton Van Diest out of Spearfish, South Dakota. She was also in that GRIAC race, but was back in 15th overall, was the runner-up at the Class 2A state cross-country meet. So coming into this, brimming with confidence and trying to stay along there with the leader, Gullickson. She's running in that equal second position.
Yeah, and she looks pretty comfortable, but again, a bit of a surprise to be up at that front, and you kind of wonder, when are we going to see the moves from Immels? When are we going to see the moves from Farabee? When are we going to see the moves from, well, Riley, of course, also somebody that we expect to see really pushing this thing. And Riley currently in second, in a good spot right there, because, again, she's not having to tackle that wind. She can tuck in right behind Gullickson, let Gullickson do the work, and break that wind.
See one of those abrupt climbs and descents that is here at the Heartland region, and that course tracker showing that they're back out on the second loop of this course, so familiar territory is here as well. So now you kind of have a gauge of where the wind is playing havoc with this race right now. They're running single file, so no one benefiting from being able to hide from the wind by using someone else as a wind blocker.
Well, I do think, actually, Paul, Riley is able to use Gullickson a bit here, even with a crosswind, as you're pointing out, because if she tucks in on that left shoulder, she can get a benefit from that crosswind being blocked. But what's interesting to me is the separation of these three from everybody else this early in the race. This is not really necessarily going according to plan, and now, as expected, Van Diest is kind of falling off a bit, and this early, right now, it's a two-woman race.
They'll make a left turn here shortly and work their way again adjacent to that parking area and closing in on a 2-mile.
And Paul, with Wayzata, that senior laden team, Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Jasleen Mahalik Osorio currently in 25th as Wyzetta number 2. Miley Clark currently 31st as Wyzetta number 3. Alyssa Ledman, that's the freshman who is the freshman amongst the seniors. She's Wyzetta number 4 in 44th. And Lila Galome, the other senior, in 56th. So they're doing what they're supposed to do. And no surprise on the team front at all. We expected these top 2 teams.
Should be right at the 2-mile mark here in a few steps as we wait for them to get across that timing mat. It was right there, right before they make that turn at the bottom of that U, and Gullickson with the lead over Riley. Van Diest beginning to lose a little ground. She's 2.5 seconds back at that point and seems like she's losing some ground with every stride. So then you look back to someone like Ellie Maddox, who's a good 9 seconds back of Van Diest. McCullough in 5th at 11:04, another 7 seconds back. Ruby Emmels is working her way up. And again, Maddie Gullickson with the fortunes of Wyzetta in that team race. That's a really important place to be right now. Emmels and Genrich are both at 6th position at a time of 11:13.7.
Yeah, and Riley and Genrich, of course, from Harrisburg Elite, the 8th and the 9th grader, now 2nd and equal 6th. Harrisburg Elite may have a shot if they can get their other 3 runners in position at getting an at-large berth for the Nike Nationals. But Genrich and Riley doing kind of what we expected them to do. Farabee, our defending champion, only 11th at this point. And by the way, Mahalik Osorio of Wyzetta just picked off 7 runners in that last mile to move up to 18th. So Wyzetta number 2 having Gullickson at 1 and Mahalik Osorio picking off 7 runners at 18, really helps their cause.
And now a little bit of a move at the front on the top of your screen. So keep an eye on the rest of the runners on the bottom of the screen as Gullickson has found a little bit of a gear and starting to press a little bit here, moving into the last mile of the race.
She has looked fantastic from the get-go here, and she's got to be buoyed. I'm sure the coaches are yelling at her. Her teammates are really, really coming through. So Lila Galome picked off 23 people in the last mile, currently 33rd for Wyzetta, which is a big move. So everybody, it's such a well-coached team. You know, don't go out too fast, measure the field, and then make your move, and that's exactly what they're doing.
And now Gullickson, as it would appear that she has taken control of this race. Riley equidistant back to her, and then a similar distance back to 3rd place. Still running very well. Peyton Van Diest trying to hold on to that 3rd position and get herself a ticket to Nike Cross Nationals.
We're looking at something in the neighborhood of 16:45 to 16:50 here, Paul. The course record 16:25, but last year they didn't have to buck 24-mile-per-hour crosswinds. But you can see this is a great relationship shop. It's almost the same equidistance between 1st and 2nd and 2nd and 3rd, and Van Diest is doing a heck of a job holding off everybody else. I mean, this is remarkable to me that we have this big a distance because everybody now kind of running their own race in that top 3.
As you see on the athletic course tracker, she's running alongside, adjacent to where she started this race almost 14 minutes ago. Will work her way up and around, and then this kind of signature hairpin turn, and at that moment at least she would be able to have a good gauge on where she is in relationship to the girls behind her. But now it's getting a little bit interesting for that 2nd place race as Van Diest has started to close the gap a little bit on Riley.
She has been, and Harrisburg is not doing well behind their 1-2, which we expected. 71, 80, and 93 behind 2 and 5 in adjusted standings for Harrisburg. Wyzetta, my goodness gracious me, they have got to be right in the mix if they run like this at NXN to getting a podium finish.
As we look back in that race for 2nd, it is still Riley and Van Diest, though The bounce from Van Diest seems a little bit stronger right now, and maybe just kind of gauging that moment. And sometimes that turn for home is the place you kind of want to make the move, though the person on the outside has to run a little bit longer, and it's a little bit of a harder turn unless you're getting that inside position, which is where Gullickson is trying to get to here in just a few strides from now.
Yeah, and she's got about a minute and a half, about minute 40 seconds to go. I'm still awfully surprised, Paul, by Ruby Immels not doing better in this race. This is a course that she knows very well. She's back in 6th. She dropped another 19 seconds in that last mile. Just a really surprising performance.
And that lone tree on the surface of Yankton Trail serves as that moment of importance as the turn for home. She goes wide, but now she can see second and third, and she now sees the finish line in sight. And Maddie Gullickson trying to do two things today: take home a Nike Cross Regionals Championships and get her squad from Wayzata back to Nike Cross Nationals as a team.
And Van Diest starting to move into second. This Wayzata coaching staff has got to be given a lot of credit because they got everybody to bring their A game today, Paul. And when you're trying to peak 3 times in a season, that is incredible. And Gullickson shows no sign of slowing down. In fact, she's going to the arms, and she is really, really moving. And given the conditions here, this is an extraordinary performance.
Great crowd on hand now enveloping her as she comes into the final chute. The finish line is in sight. As we go to that finish line, Cameron, keep an eye on that race for second between Riley and Van Diest. It looks like Van Diest is now trying to get past her as the field all awaits the finish line and the end of their championship day here, as it will be a new champion, Maddie Gullickson of Wayzata, taking Nike Cross Regionals Heartland. And how about this race for second between Van Diest and Riley? Van Diest on the left, Riley on the right, and Van Diest looks like she will be slightly ahead of Riley, and Gullickson celebrating as the regional champion. Here comes Ellie Maddox, it looks like, coming into the chute. Again, top 5, guaranteed a spot individually for Nike Cross Nationals. Karsten McCabe finishing in 6th. Jenrick in 7th. Ruby Immels coming through there right now in 8th position.
And look at Malheric Osorio, the senior. She picked off another 9 runners between miles 2 and 3. She ran a brilliant race. And by the way, the 4th place finish for Ellie Maddox, key for the Chargers running club, because it's going to be Chargers and Wayzata that will be the top 2 teams going to national. Marissa Farabee, our defending champion, 16th.
And so that would then open up opportunity for positions 6 and 7 in the order. Again, Chargers would take their whole team. Wayzata would take their whole team. So that would give Karsten McCabe and Hannah Jenrick the opportunity to be at the line in early December as well.
Yeah, Genrich will join her teammate Brianna Riley as individuals that will travel the 9th and 8th graders, or the 8th and 9th graders, however you want to term it. But Ruby Immels only 8th. So 8th for Ruby Immels, the number 5 ranked athlete in the country. Farabee, the defending champion, only 16th. But Wayzata, you can't say enough about this team from Minnesota, which every year seems to be on point and has done it yet again. Plymouth, Minnesota. And great job, too, by that Chargers running club. It's not just Ellie Maddox. Sadie Pettengill picked off 5 runners, the sophomore, in the last mile and did a number in finishing in 12th place. So, and then Jerica Glasser in 28th, their number 3 runner. So good job as well by that second-place team.
Starting to get those team scores on the board, though they are unofficial. They should change, and they just did. Wayzata had 30 points, now up to 33 as they remove some of those individual runners from the descending order list at the finish line. Chargers Running Club looks to be the second team to qualify. Pella Windmills had a good day, but not enough to get into the top 2. Again, no team out of the Heartland region has received one of those 4 at-large bids to Nike Cross Nationals, but trying to be as close as you can to those top two at least gives you an argument to send back to the home office.
Amen. And you mentioned the Pella Windmills. So Farabee was their number one runner, but was the story here for the Pella Windmills is that Elsie Brenneman knocked off 7 runners in that last mile to finish 23rd. Had Farabee been the Farabee of 2024, that might have been a determination that Pella Windmills gets into that at-large scenario as well. Alyssa Ledman, a nice performance by Wayzata. Lila Galome, a nice performance for Wayzata. Just so many of their runners just really ran strong today. Addison Knights picked off 19 runners in the last mile for Wayzata. That's what you call a tour de force from 1 through 7, Paul.
And for Wayzata, it'll be their 9th appearance at Nike Cross Nationals as the winners here out of the Heartland, and certainly brimming with momentum after the state championship performance and then here in the Heartland. Wouldn't expect nearly as much wind in the championship race, but the conditions can tend to be cold and wet, so they'll have to address and prepare for that. But right now, as we watch the rest of this field come in, let's hear from our winner, Maddie Gullickson, with Lexi Halliday-Lowry.
Maddie, oh my gosh, you just ran an incredibly dominating race. Was that your plan going in to take it from the gun?
Yeah, I knew going into the race that I wanted to go with the top pack and kind of just trust my instincts. I trusted myself coming into the race knowing like what to do in every situation. So I just worked for myself, I worked for my team, and just like hoping that my team can all go to nationals together. So I just went out there and tried my hardest today.
Well, way to do your part. How did you prepare for the cold? It is frigid today.
Yeah, it's definitely really cold. We all just knew like everybody's going to be in the same conditions. We're going to have to get gritty at certain points during the race and really just not letting the weather get into our heads, knowing that everyone's racing in the same conditions. You're going to be okay either way. You're out here for 20 minutes, then you can go put on warm clothes. So we just stayed resilient, stayed gritty, and just ran for our team.
I love. At what point in the race did you know that you had the win in the bag?
I never like knew at a definitive point that I was going to, and coming around the corner I saw that I had a pretty big gap, so that was cool knowing like I know that I'm a strong finisher, so I knew that I could finish it out, but really just going out there and like I said before, just racing for my team, knowing that hopefully we have more of a season ahead of us, which we do, and just keeping my goals in mind and just racing fast. So
well, congrats on today. Way to conquer the elements and just run for your team. I love that. And yeah, best of luck at NXN.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our thanks to Lexi, and again, Gullickson, we may very well hear from her again with the team interview. Can't ask for a better day, individual and team winning.
I think it's a culture, Paul. It's a culture. For instance, Lexi is at BYU. There's a culture in that program that brings out the excellence in every runner. There's a culture in Wayzata that brings out a Maddie Gullickson. Did you see the interview at the finish? She said a team. 3 or 4 times she talked about team. Less excited about her own individual performance than the team, and that's the brilliance of the Wayzata culture.
As she comes to the line to celebrate a individual